Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Hayden Raven, and welcome to Adrian. Now, Adrian is this game about World War I, and I'm not entirely sure what it's about, but I'm wanted to save that for myself because the art was very distinctive on the page, and I'm going to say no more about this game, and we're going to learn about this game together. So let's see what Adrian entails for us this evening. It would require a historian or a philosopher to explain the causes of the Great War. It will suffice to know that Germany and Austria were allied in the war with Russia, Great Britain, and France. Germany started the war by mobilizing more than 3 million soldiers and having them march into French territory through Belgium, in the hope of taking by surprise its historical rival. Despite initial success, the advance of the German army was halted at the Marne. So it stopped and it switched to the defense, determined in keeping the patch of territory they had already been conquered. Soon, the line of the front got heavily fortified on both sides, with a labyrinthian system of trenches spanning from the Belgian coast to the Alps. This resulted in a tactical stalemate, and the war settled into a war of attrition. Every day, tens of thousands of combatants would die from artillery fire, or in pursuit to break the enemy position, to little or no gain. It's early spring, 1916. Almost 2 years have already passed since the war started. Infantry Regiment 161 is currently manning a sector of the front north of the city of Reims. The German artillery increased its activity as of lately, as the Battle of Verdun is ranging 50 miles from here. The telephone lines have gone off, probably as a result of the shelling. Until the problem is solved, communication between the regiment and headquarters has to be done via couriers. Couriers are people running back and forth. That's insane. You play the part of one such courier. Oh, this is cool. This is where we can start. You have been tasked to deliver an important dispatch to Colonel Carreau, who's in command of the regiment. He is waiting for you in the reserve trenches. Oh, is this? Oh, yeah. This is what I was talking about. This game, this right here is what really excited me, and I'm not entirely sure how much this spans, but I am very excited to get into this. Oh, wow. This is cool. This is cool. This little pixelated adventure. It's very quiet. And that's what disturbs me. I know that there's a whole lot of World War I, World War II movies, but there's nothing like... Sometimes there's nothing like a game that can immerse you into the feeling of actually being there. It's really... And I really enjoy a good series or movie from the war times. But I will say no more about this, and we will figure out where we need to go. I'm going to choose the northern portion, and we'll see what we need to do. Is that a shovel? Spades? Shovels? Can I have any of you? It appears that I've gone the wrong way, but of course, as always, I will continue forward. You know, it's almost disturbing just hearing that artillery fire in the background as you just slowly walk your way through all these trenches. It's very paranoid, because that's a word. It's just very agitating in a way, because it's so quiet and that's all you hear. And just one of those babies can blow you up. One of those babies can blow you to smithereens. That's what it'll happen. And I believe that is where we need to go. Okay, so there is no side-to-side mechanic, I just discovered. So there's only forward, onward, and such is that is such. Hello? What are you, sir? That's a cool little character model. I wish there was some interaction, but I'm not gonna hold that against him. Oh, there we go. I'm stupid. I'm Albert. I'm not even gonna attempt to pronounce that. From Tarragon, and I'm dubbed Big Nose. I got this nickname because I have a large nose that takes the whole of my face. Wow. Maybe I got it from my father. I don't know, because I never met him. And my mother died when I was still a little child, so I don't remember her face. I know I'm ugly, so ugly that even whores won't willingly come with me, although my money looks just like anybody else's money. Would I have been cockeyed, I would at least have avoided the draft. But I'm just ugly, and being ugly doesn't spare someone from being drafted and sent to die. Oh wow. That's really sad. Drafting is actually an issue that during the Vietnam War that we, as American citizens, we actually had very large crowds amass over it and protesting the war. So I think, I'm not entirely sure the current politics of it, but I also don't want to talk about those because that is not my place. My place is with this game, and so I'm very interested in every aspect of this game, even this silent walking. It's making me focus on the character, and it's very, developer, you've done a very good job at making me feel like I'm here because it's just so real in my perspective. It really is. Hello? Ah, more friends to talk with. Hello? Can I talk with you? There we go. My name is Francis, I'll say Francis, even though it's not. Francis Claudel, and I'm 20 years old. When I was home, I was working in a bakery, and I had to wake up before the light of dawn, but I didn't mind. There's nothing that smells as good as a freshly baked bread. I wish I could smell that scent once again before I die. I'm tired of kneading mud and dung in these trenches. Oh wow. It's very surreal. I'm Pivier Jean Pivier, but in Maugens, my hometown, everyone calls me the Ox because I'm strong as a beast of burden. That's also a reference. Once I manage, unaided, to lift a large table of the dive bar, the one where we used to sit even in a dozen people. And this is my strongman voice. If I could face all these Huns on my own, I wouldn't be afraid one bit. But the bayonet ain't for me. It's too much of Burgoy's thing. I'd prefer a shovel or a billhook with nothing to fix and unfix. Wow. Developer, you've really put psychology into the minds of these soldiers, and that's really, really cool and important in a game that revolves around war. And I think a lot of times it's hard to implement, but so far you've done it perfectly. I really enjoy this. This is so cool. And the artillery shells have seemed to I've either gotten farther away from them, or they've all halted, and it's just silent. Oh no, they're far away. They're still far away. It's very, very interesting, I must say. Hello, you're new. Are you the officer, admiral, sir, colonel? I'm Nicholas Rowe, class of '84, sergeant major, 161st Regiment of Infantry. I recently realized I'm starting to detest this war. I miss the flags flapping in the wind, the shiny armor of the cuirassiers. I can't pronounce that, I'm sorry. And the fearless charges above green grass fields. Since we started digging and hiding in these holes, the business of war lost all of its glory and its brilliance. But my country still needs me, nevertheless, and I'm going to keep doing my duty as best as I can. I just hope the war will be over before I turn into a bloody pacifist. Wow. Just wow, that's cool. I do want to explore this back right portion just in case I missed something. And I did, indeed, right in front of my eyes. My name is Daniel Margot, and I was born in Lyle 29 years ago. I play my part in this war, and that's all you have to know. I stick to my own, and I don't care about anyone else's business. Okay, buddy. Again, that's another important psychological profile. You see, you've got what looks to be an officer in the line of duty, and then an infantryman just back there who just does what he's told, and each soldier has a different mentality, a certain level of optimism just to keep them there. At least that's what I take from all of these texts, and I didn't realize this was the kind of game that this was going to be, but I'm enjoying it very much, so let us continue and see what else we can find. Hello. Indeed. You, sir, are a digger. Laurent Molinat, 20 years old, born and raised in Mauchems. I volunteered so I didn't have to marry Lucille Foret, the daughter of the blacksmith who died last year due to the kick of a mule. I made love to her. That time I found her doing the laundry by the creek. Oh, that is descriptive. We had a good time, but the dope went to confession after she discovered she was pregnant. The parson sent someone to tell me I had to do my duty. But if she was an honest girl, she wouldn't have gone to the creek all by herself. Wouldn't she? How do I know she hadn't slept with any other man after me? I'm not going to get snagged. Do your duty, as he said, but... Wow. Again, there's just more psychological profiles, and I think that's a key to this game. It's very critical to this game, is having those psychological profiles so that the player can pick up on, admire, and even perhaps dismay at. Oh wow, these helmets. That's not good. Ah, another one. My name is Gerard Thomas, and I was in Verdun when the whole mess started. I heard a single one of those gray took Domount Fortress right from under our noses while we were in the trenches getting the shelling of a lifetime. Some way I managed to stay alive, and I turned out to be the only survivor out of my entire battalion. I guess they didn't know what to do with a one-man battalion, so I got transferred to this unit, and I was promoted to corporal. I would have preferred a few injuries or a broken limb instead of a promotion. I would be at home by now, in Bordeaux, as far away as possible from this place. Oh wow. This is making me feel very rough at this point, and it's very hard to see these stories because something tells me that at the very least these are based out of truths, off of real character stories. So I am going to be respectful and try not to terribly joke about everything that's going on. Whether this is fiction or not, it should be respected as non-fiction, dealing with real life events. I'm Ferdinand Nazier, a farmer then a soldier now. I have little to say about me. My life was hard before and it's hard now. I never had much money, and the little I had didn't last long. 2 weeks ago, during a sortie, I heard a big boom, and then I felt a stinging sensation on my leg. I touched it, and my hand got covered in blood, but I was still able to walk. I thought, all right, with the wound they'll send me home, no doubt. Actually, it was just a splinter in my calf. They bandaged it and moved on. They told me I turned out better than before. It was a really big bummer. Bummer. In that sense of the word, it's just... these character profiles are getting worse. You see, they started with the bread baker to begin with because I feel like he was the most optimistic about returning home. And all of these men just want to go home, and it's very sad. So I'm not going to say anymore, and I'm going to let this game speak its volumes for itself. My name is Paul Maurice, but all my comrades call me Stingy. Not just behind my back, they call me like that right in front of me. I'm not greedy, actually. I'm just a man who likes to keep care of his stuff, wasting nothing. My mother taught me, and it'd be the only thing she could have ever left me in her inheritance. My good-for-nothing father squandered all of our possessions by drinking and gambling around dives. If I'll join him in the afterlife, I wish not to meet him, for he'd be capable of asking money from me as well. My name is Sebastian Lizon, and I'm 29. It doesn't matter where I'm from, nor what I'm doing before the war. It feels like I was born in this trench, and I know I'll soon die a few steps from here. Tomorrow or in a week, it doesn't matter. I don't think anyone will remember me after my death. For sure, nobody will cry on my grave, if I'll ever have any. Wow, that's gotta be the darkest one we've read so far. So, I'm gonna keep going forward and try to keep optimistic about this. But this is very surreal. It's very. You see, as a courier, and not seeing ourselves versus these soldiers, we don't actually look like them. We're not a part of them. And in the sense, we are still the player of this game, and yet we become fully immersed in their stories. And that's really important for this game to be doing, and I'm really enjoying it. Ah, more men. François Marinette from Cairo, age 22. I worked as a clerk in a drapery in town, but the owner wasn't happy with me. He said I had too many women on my mind. How is it my fault if I'm a nice bloke? I don't mean to brag, but I'm liked by females, and one is available. I'm not backing down. Some days ago, I received a letter from Marie. She says she got pregnant after my last leave, and that I must now marry her. This is a big problem. Were it up only to me, I would marry her, but then what should I tell the others? Josephine would be capable of jumping into the river, and Arlette would come after me with a pitchfork even amidst cannon fire. Buddy, you got a lot of issues. Okay then. Lynette and Tony, class of 92, and I think of myself as a lucky man. I'm content with little. I like having company, and I don't lack health. Which I did, I wouldn't be able to enjoy life as much as I do. I hope good luck will keep on smiling on me now that I am at the front, as it always did. Like that time Lisette got pregnant. She threatened to make a fuss, and I almost resigned to marry her, but then it turned out she had also slept with Paul Villano, and so I dodged the bullet. Another proof that I'm lucky. The other day I found a tobacco pipe on the ground. I don't have any use for it, but after I cleaned it from the mud, she got all nice and shiny. It looks like it may have some value. Perhaps I could trade it for some packets of cigarettes. Good for you, buddy. There seems to be a very large issue with the men in this trench, the men of this army with women, so I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to let their business be their business. But sirs, control yourselves. The trenches have slowly gotten even more so broken down as we're walking through this. This is very, as it said in the beginning, this is very labyrinthian. Jean Boheme, from Lyon, age 24, but I feel like I'm twice as old. I'm strong and healthy, but the service weakened my arms and my head. I'm new to this regiment. I was in the reserves before, and I was a stretcher bearer. Everyone thinks the job for the stretcher bearer is a privilege because they send us to pick up what is left on the battlefield once the battle is over. Actually, it isn't true. If a poor Christian gets hit, he is left to die in the mud. But if an officer falls, we have to go pick him up even when the shells are still raining. As if his rear end is worth much more than ours. And then, even when you aren't in danger, it isn't a great job. When you pick up someone, then you also have to find him a place in the field hospital. Like it's easy. And we never get to thank you. On the contrary. Once a guy took it out on me, and on the other bearer, because we didn't also pick his foot that got ripped off. Would you believe it? Anyway, it's better when you wounded still have the strength to complain. It's better when the wounded have strength to complain, because otherwise You witness scenes that make you throw up. Things that I wouldn't tell you. You wouldn't understand anyway. Wow. Now that was a very sincere portion of war that we really don't get to see, and that I'm glad that was included in this game, but just wow, it's just so much. It's so much to take in this game, and it's very detailed, it's very descriptive. It's just, it really puts you out here, and it's very cool. So perhaps when we come across these empty shovels, that's where men used to be. And maybe they're just gone now. My name is Fabrice Cullinet. I'm from Annecy. In 2 days I'll turn 20. If I'd be home, my mother would prepare a special dinner, and my sisters would gift me wool scarves and hankies embroidered with their own hands. Then my father, with a serious voice, would place his hand on my shoulder, and he would tell me, "Son, you're a man now." Since I turned 14, he says the same thing on my every birthday. If being a man means being here, I wish I could turn back into a kid. It's so surreal. It's so emotionally invested into this, and I'm really glad I found this game. I'm really glad I found it. This is so good. You see, every time I pass an empty shovel or an empty cap now, I just picture one of those men standing there, and they're not there anymore. They're just gone. It's very sad. I'm Paul Lement, and I was an apprentice plumber in Nate's. My father and my mother are farmers, as my big brothers are, but I didn't want to stay in the countryside, so I moved to the city. I like people. I feel safe into the crowd, as a sheep into the flock. Here too, the thing I detest most is when I'm assigned a guard post and there's no one to chat to. Even worse, when I have to go probing, then I feel like they had pulled my clothes off and left me there naked and undefended as a lost lamb. If I have to die in this war, I wish to die in the huddle together with many others, not alone. But I won't say this to my comrades. I like company, but I'm not dumb. I'm Ferdinand Lemonlinal from Saint Leon, the one in Gironde. I say it because there are other towns with that name, and I think they're all bigger than mine. When I was there, I didn't like it. Everything looked so tight and pretty, but now I can't wait to go back home. I'll look at the short houses, the cobbled streets, the crooked church, surrounded by the graveyard, and everything will look fine and shiny, I'm sure. Now, I don't know how long this game does run, but I am searching for the end, and I believe the end comes when we find the one we're supposed to deliver the message to, so I'm going to try to keep this one short. But, nonetheless, I will not let that take away from the actual content and wonderfulness of this game. Dolmont Anton, age 26, a farmer before a private now. I used to go hunting quite often, and in those days I didn't expect I would soon become myself a target to point through the sight of a rifle. But taking a bullet is a natural thing after all. Even in town, Pierre, the fat, died of a shot in the belly, and to kill him wasn't a Hun, but the dumbest Marinot, who mistook him for a boar amidst the bushes. Here at the front, there are worse ways to die. I saw soldiers killed by gas, their hands to the neck and their eyes wide open in ghastly expression. In comparison, to die from a gunshot is great luck. Going through this game once more, I feel very observant, and in that we're in the position of the observer, but as well as I feel like all these men are speaking as if they're ghosts already, and it's very, very, if there's one thing that this game has got right, it's that it's surreal and it's fantastic. So, ladies and gentlemen, I do want to take a moment just to say wherever you are, tomorrow is Memorial Day, and just remember everything. And I wish I could have played this, but this will be the Memorial Day special, if there ever was one. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me on this very real adventure into what was and perhaps what is to come. My name's Manon, Louis Manon, and I'm not a coward. I said it at first, and it's clear that I'm not afraid of death. But it shall happen all of a sudden, from a bullet right in the head, hopefully, in eternal sleep right afterwards. I don't want to end up as that poor Jovette who got tangled in barbed wire in the middle of no man's land, stuck there to scream and moan for 2 days until he finally croaked. I told my comrades that if it happens to me, they can't come to the rescue. I'd prefer to be shot. If they won't do it, I will. Even though the chaplain says that suicide is a grave sin, chaplain says that the suicide is a grave sin, that it's an insult to God, but yet, I think if God doesn't want to be insulted, then it should intervene. He shouldn't let a Christian die in this manner. Wow. Oh wow. Just very, again, I can't say it enough how surreal this game is, and just genuine and mournful and grave. It's very grim. And such is war. Ah, he looks different. Perhaps this is the end. Name's Louis Blanchard, and I already was in the army long before this war started. I traveled the world and I shot at people of several colors, and now I ended up here, a few miles from home, amongst baby faces who left their cribs and were given a rifle. I'm getting old and rusty, but I have some chances of dying in bed. As for these kids, they will have to litter the ground with their corpses. In the hundreds of thousands before nation-states will realize people die faster than they born. Wow. It appears that we've come across some sort of fortification. I've been seeing these right there. I've been seeing these things stretch into the sky for quite some time. I don't know what they are. I might be terribly stupid as to not to identify them, but I wonder if we have reached the end of our time almost. It would appear that we've come to the first time to a dead end. I'm not entirely sure what this means for us, but he looks different. Yes, this is our message. To the Colonel of Regiment 161. Order is to attack on all the line on tomorrow, April the 7th, at hours 10:00. All reserves to be used. No retreat until further orders. This document is to be destroyed immediately. France counts on your victory. Signed, Division General. -5, 4, 3, 2, 1. In the month of April 1916, the main objective of the French army was to keep its position at Verdun, facing the heavy German assault. Huge quantities of men and material were sent to the battlefield to replace the losses and to substitute the troops that were fatigued from the fighting. Meanwhile, a number of attacks were carried out in the other parts of the front in an attempt to loosen the pressure by the Germans on Verdun. On the 7th of April, men from the 161st Regiment of Infantry were employed in a frontal assault to the enemy lines. The majority of these men got killed by machine gun fire. Others got stuck in barbed wire. The few men managed to reach the German trenches were butchered with bayonets, clubs, and daggers. The Great War lasted 4 years. More than 8 million French combatants took part in the war. More than 1 million of them would never return. During the peace conference in Paris, The victors of the war imposed their terms on the defeated. National borders were redrawn, empires were dismembered, and several independent nations were restored or created. Germany was stripped of its colonies overseas, and heavy war reparations were imposed on the former empire. These measures resulted in a feeling of humiliation among the German people that eventually contributed, just 20 years later, to the start of a Second World War. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of our time with Adrian. What a powerful game, and I don't know if this was timed for Memorial Day, but if so, wonderful. Just wonderful. I can't say anything about this game, as the experiences, the words, the stories of these soldiers are just so surreal. So please take from them what you will, and that is what we can learn, and this is how we can advance, so in the future we can avoid such atrocities and perhaps grow as humans ourselves. So ladies and gentlemen, I must bid you a good evening and a good night. I'll see you.